Welcome back to the channel. Hi, my name is Dr. Wendy and I'm an ophthalmologist based in Kuching and the mother of two. In this week's master series, I'll be talking about all the exams that you have to take all throughout the 4 years of master program. So if you're interested to find out more, keep listening on. This is my undergraduate hat. And of course, as usual, I will share my pro tips, and if it is something that is up your sleeve and you're interested to find out, because it's time to get serious about what you want to do and what you want to be, and stop procrastinating, stop wasting your time, and hit that subscribe button and the notification bell button, because you do not want to miss any of these master related series that I have going on coming up for you guys. For those of you who are already in the master program, chop, let's start the video. So there will be 3 main examinations that you have to take during your 4 years course in the Master of Ophthalmology. Part 1 you will take at the end of your first year, Part 2 you will take at the end of your 3rd year program, and Part 3 at the end of the 4th year master program. So basically, as you can see, year 2 is actually the honeymoon period where you do not have any exams planned. What you should do, plan and prepare for each and every year of your master program. I do have a future video that is coming up soon. Master framework, because it is a framework after all. I will guide you in your master program, because you really want to find out what you want to plan for that year and not just like no. So the Part 1 syllabus consists of ophthalmology-related basic medical sciences, which include the anatomy of the eyelid, physiological of the eyelid, pharmacology, pathology, and microbiology related to ophthalmology. Optics and refraction, definitely you cannot run from that. First part of Part 1 examination is definitely going to be your MCQ. 60 question, 300 true or false answers that you have to answer in 2 hours. As I've been told very recently that there will no longer be negative marking. Fortunately, it's a good news for all of you, because a lot of us actually died in MCQ. Died, not literal died, but failed the examination because of MCQ, this negative marking scheme system. So if you don't have that, better for you lah. No reason for you to fail MCQ lah. However, if you are still a junior doctor who hasn't gone into the master program, bear in mind that the pre-exam examination in MEDEX as well as BSc still uses the negative marking scheme system. So it is still good for you to check out this video. And I remember my past year question was trabecular meshwork. So you need to draw, you need to write all you know about trabecular meshwork and draw the drawing, label the drawing, the anatomy of it, the physiology of it, and if you can, always at the last paragraph, you mention the big clinical application on this trabecular meshwork lah. My other question was on topical antihistamine. If you don't know what to write, clinical use is mechanism of action, side effect, contraindication, and also I remember getting, I think I get dark adaptation question, and for me that is like a bonus question because I totally prepared for the question, so I just physically vomited out everything on the paper and write everything that I know, because I did prepare, I did spotted the question and targeted for the question. So while you're preparing for all this examination, while you're reading it and looking at your past year, so just look at the trend and what question is always famous and popular. Those they tend to repeat themselves because those are what they deem is important for us in the future as a clinical ophthalmologist. If you're a Russian graduate like myself, you have never heard of the OSCE. OSCE basically means Objective Structure Clinical Examination. There are 10 stations for you to answer in your Part 1. It is designed to test a range of skills of clinical knowledge. The scoring system is very standardized. There will be 10 stations. All of you will be going around each and every of these tables to answer all the stations. So you all will be asked the same set of questions, and includes the anatomy, physiology, microbiology, and pharmacology related to ophthalmology. If my memory still serves me well, 4 stations will be for optics. If you fail 2 of your optics station of OSCE, you will automatically fail the examination. That's my exam period time was very strict ones. I was told this way, just rumors, I don't know, we don't know. What I remember from my Part 1, they will show you a picture of let's say vitamin A cycle, or let's say Krebs cycle, and then they will blank out some of the enzymes name or some of the name of the phosphorylation. Then you're supposed to fill up that box. It's very structured like that. So for optics, they will probably show you a picture of the optics, half-drawn optics drawing, and you're supposed to complete that drawing. That's how you get your marks. So they are all in your textbook. So if you got study, you will be able to answer this. For me, I remember at the end of the exam, I felt like I ran like 100 meters fast like that because my heart was pumped up palpitating all the way because I think it was 5 minutes per station. So every question very fast and you have to go through that. Still berdebar-debar. The next part of the part 1 examination is the Viva voce. This is basically a verbal station. If you're a Russian graduate, you will be very familiar with this Viva station because all our exam also Viva because we don't know how to write Russian. So you are expected to talk. 2 stations with 2 examiners in each room. Given a set of questions, then the examiners can choose which question that they want to ask. One station is on anatomy and physiology. The other question will be on microbiology, pharmacology, or pathology related to ophthalmology. So yes, for half an hour. If you know what you're talking, don't feel that long. But if you don't know what you're talking, it's very scary. The example question that I've been asked in my real examination, I was asked to draw the anatomy of macula. 10 layers of retina, you definitely had to know. And the anatomy just of the macula. And some of us got the anatomy of the orbital apex. So that is one of the favorite questions as well. What the structure in the optic canal. And then you talk about all the basic anatomy in relation to all the other ocular structures that's in the eye. And for the other station, the favorite question I remember was what is the finding in the pathology in the slide for giant cell arteritis? Which layer that they involve the tunica mucosa media and tunica intima? Some of them like to ask that. Some of them like to ask the pathophysiology or pathoanatomy of the development of diabetic macular edema and diabetic retinopathy. And favorite microbiological question in Viva, I think I prepared for amoeba, toxoplasma. Those are very favorite one that you have to prepare one. But I don't know what you get, but these are the questions that I will personally prepare well. How to perform green stain. Definitely a question that you need to hafal. And for pharmacology, what was I asked? Mechanism of action of steroids. Definitely you need to know lah, the side effect, contraindication, blah blah blah. Refraction, you're expected to refract a real patient. And some of the favorite patient that you will get is usually moderate myope, high myope. If you're super sway, then you may get aphakic patient, or you will get like hypermetropic type of patient. Then there will be a Viva on refraction and optics as well. Red, green lah, binocular vision test. Of course, those will be asked too. But only allowed to make a very tiny minor slight derangement from their real refraction. So I would advise you to really practice your refraction on a real patient. Familiarize yourself with the retinoscope and get used to seeing the reflex in the dark room and practice your steps of refraction. So there are minimum criteria that you need to fulfill before you're allowed to sit for these examinations. You must have completed 10 case reports or 10 equivalent merits points, which means at least 2 published case reports to your name, at least 2 months before your Part 2 examination dates. You must have received ethical approval or the NMRR approval letter at least 6 months before Part 2 examination date. And you must also have received satisfactory marks for all your monthly and quarterly appraisal forms from your supervisor, whether or not it is your lecturers and professors in the university hospitals or your consultant in the government hospital. The theory exam is usually 4 to 6 weeks before the clinical examination. So part 2 theory, as usual, you have MCQ, 60 questions, 300 true or false answers to be answered within 2 hours. By the time you finish your MCQ, your mind will be like, so much thinking to do. There is no negative marking. I have a video up here which may not be relevant to you anymore, but if you still prepare your examination, your MCQ for like as if you answer it in a negative marking scheme system, I am sure you will pass beautifully. So anyways, essay question. Some of the essay questions that I personally targeted and prepared for are like principle of management in congenital cataract, the management of retinoblastoma, the management of small pupil in cataract, complication of penetrating keratoplasty, how to perform a trabeculectomy. My real exam question was how to perform a tarsography. For me, these are some of the things that you need to know. You need to target and yourself practice right fast. Make sure you have all the schemes and the templates that you have comfortably in your system already before you go for your essay examination. During my time, I do have KFQs, and KFQ stands for Key Feature Questions. And then you have also 16 KFQs questions to be answered, and basically like a spot diagnosis, I would say, but in a written form. So you will be given classical, situational, and classical scenarios and classical clinical findings, and you will be asked questions based upon that, and then you need to write down your answers lah. So for example, what is the most likely diagnosis in this case? You need to answer one diagnosis only. You cannot give a differential. If you give a differential, 0. What are the 3 main investigations that you will order for this patient? You need to know what you are doing and not just chin chan write everything ABC, bill square, LFT. You need to know what you are doing. What are the 3 treatment options that you offer this patient? The questions are actually very simple, very straightforward. So simple until that the answer scheme system, the marking scoring system is very strict. I mean, it's only fair because they have taken out the negative marking in your MCQ. So this KFQ is where a lot of people died actually in KFQ. And something is very simple, the examiner expects you to know very well in depth, in detail. So for example, if your diagnosis you answer left eye decompensated cornea, you get 0. Or if you answer left eye pseudophakic keratopathy, you will also get 0, because the most likely diagnosis and the most complete diagnosis is left eye pseudophakic bullous keratopathy secondary to underlying fused endothelial dystrophy. 1 mark. The Sapphire you write, give 1 mark. And if you have successfully passed your part 2 theory, you will proceed on to your part 2 clinical examination. So these short cases is equivalent to KFQ in your written test, and it is also equivalent to OSCE in your part 1. You will have 10 stations. Again, this is like spot diagnosis. You'll be presented with a patient and need to go see them at the slit lamp and talk, present your finding and your formulate your preliminary diagnosis and your differential diagnosis, and give a very short 3 sentences on the treatment and how you manage this patient. No need to go into depth because this is just spot diagnosis. You need to finish all that within 5 minutes. So my pro tips are: number 1, do not miss trabeculectomy. 2, do not miss a PI. Number 3, do not miss AC cell. Number 4, do not miss new vessels. Do not miss a partial ptosis. And there are also some diagnoses that you need to think of if you see a patient with relatively quiet eye. Always practice rapid fire cases. Go and approach a senior or registrar in the clinic and tell them that whenever they have interesting cases, ask them to call you. They call you and then they will test you on the spot. They can help to train you out because they themselves have underwent this system. They will know what to ask you and how to help you also prepare your scheme answer. So don't be afraid to make mistakes in front of your seniors or registrar or lecturers now in the clinic, because it will help you not make a blunder or mistake when you are in the real examination later on. The examiners tend to be kinder than in a KFQ, because in clinical examination actually they got a chance to prompt you more to help you complete your full diagnosis. For example, like you say, this patient has left eye pseudophakic bullous keratopathy. Due to, actually you know because you've seen Katata, so you said that due to fused endothelial dystrophy. So yeah. The next part of the exam is Viva. There will be 2 stations, 2 examiners, 30 minutes each. One will be ophthalmology related and the other one will be medical related. The examiner will present a case to you, a scenario to you, and within that 30 minutes, if you want to ask further history, you can ask the examiner, and then you need to formulate your diagnosis and come up with a definitive management plan for that fake patient which the examiner has just presented to you. This is where it gets interesting. You mentioned that you want to further investigate this patient with papilloedema, say from an urgent contrasted computed tomography of the brain and the orbit full. You must answer in full. And then you may be surprised that the examiner will then from behind, they will take out a CT scan and show you, and you'll be expected to describe the CT scan. Whether this is a contrasted or a non-contrasted, which part are you looking at, and you must be able to, not like a radiologist level, but at least they will usually show you very obvious mass SOL there. So yep, they may just have an OCT printout to show you and you're expected to describe it. So if you say you want to do a specular microscopy, be ready to know how to interpret the printout if you are ever given one. So yes, or Humphrey visual field, also HVF. Yeah, I've given you some tips. Go and prepare. 30 minutes may sound very long, but in reality, if you are talking and discussing and the discussion is moving on quite nicely, it doesn't feel that long. But if you're on the wrong track, you keep saying something and the examiner, are you talking about pulling you back, or you also feel like, my goodness, I'm wrong. So 30 minutes will make you feel like you want to freeze in hell. The next format of the part 2 clinical examination is the long case, which to me is the most non-standardized exam. Anyways, the exam you get to spend 40 minutes with a real patient, and in that 40 minutes you are expected to check their vision, and some examiner will expect you to do some simple refraction for this patient. You will need to check their gonioscopy, their angles, check their intraocular pressure, IOP, before you proceed to dilate them to check their posterior fundus. And once your 40 minutes is up, the examiner will knock and they will come to your room, and 20 minutes for you to present your case and go for discussion, your management and your treatment option. It is frankly open to buyers, and instead of 90% hard work and 10% luck, for long case, you will depend at least 50% on your luck to get a good historian patient, and pray that this patient doesn't mislead you with his own version of medical condition and to confuse you during your examination. Or they fabricate, then you die. It really depends on luck. If you're lucky, you get to pass it. If you're not lucky that year, then suay lah. So again, if you're on the right track, this will feel so long. If you're on the wrong track, then it's very hard to bear. So one of the tips that I've trained myself in order to sit for this long case is that you need to build up the ability to peep into the fundus using your 90T lens, so that you have a rough idea of what is happening in the posterior fundus, so that you can come up with the diagnosis even faster than if you were to wait until the fundus dilates. One of my pro tips that I'm going to share is that you need to practice talking to the mirror and talk slower, so that all your words are clear to the examiner, and you are also thinking while you are presenting your case, and see if there's anything else that you're missing out. Also buy time for that 20 minutes to cepat harvest while you're in your territory. Consists of, so for part 2 syllabus, you are expected to cover the clinical ophthalmology, medical retina, glaucoma, cornea, oculoplastic, vitreoretina, ocular oncologist, just to name a few. And you are expected to know ophthalmology related general medicine and neurologist, which is why some of you are expected, actually all of us are expected to do your elective medical posting, and you are expected to know some advanced clinical ophthalmology materials as well. If you read more and you attend more conferences, this is a year to shine. And if you have passed your part 2, you have come to the part 3. You need to send up your thesis book and your manuscript 6 months before the exam date. You need to have complete at least minimum 5 merit points for your presentation, whether it is oral or poster presentation. You are expected to provide proofs of their presentations as well, to complete your logbook for your surgeries and your procedures. So this is basically your Thesis Viva defense. You are to prepare a slide presentation about 30 to 40 pages to be presented within 40 minutes and 20 minutes for questioning and discussion. My pro tips is that talk slower while you're presenting. You already prepare a slide, you already know what you're going to be talking about, so be in control for as long as possible, but not until the examiner stops you and say you overtime already lah. So yeah, and if you want some tips and tricks to improve your slide presentation, I do have some videos here that you can click on and watch and learn how to improve your slide presentation. Keep it very simple, because remember, this is a very formal academic presentation. Use a very classic formal looking font. So this whole thesis defense viva takes up about 1 hour. So practice presenting your presentation. Make sure your computer is charged, you got all the cables that you need on the day of examination. Impress them with your impressive verbal diarrhea. Prepare some questions that you think that they may ask you during your defense viva, so that you can prepare some scheme answers to answer them back lah. Because remember, those 2 examiners will have already read your manuscript that you have sent in time for them, so they definitely will have question written down in pencil. I've seen mine written down a lot to ask you. Actually, the aim of them questioning you and asking you is not to pull you down, but rather to make your thesis a better paper, if you will. And after you have passed your thesis viva defense, congratulations, welcome to the other side. Ophthalmology is not born but made. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you find this video extremely helpful, extremely valuable to you, and as usual, I will see you in the next video. Bye. Remember to subscribe.